Our muscles are pretty amazing, right? One minute they're generating this incredible, explosive force, and the next, they can hit a wall of fatigue that feels like it comes out of nowhere. In this explainer, we are going to dive deep into the science behind both that raw power and that inevitable breaking point. So let's get right into it.
I mean, think about it. It's a fundamental question. You can manage to deadlift a huge weight off the floor, but you can't just stand there holding it forever. You can burst out of the starting blocks like a rocket, but you can't possibly maintain that speed for an entire marathon. This huge difference between raw power and lasting endurance, well, that's exactly the mystery we're going to unravel today.
So how do our muscles actually do what they do? How do they generate force? It might seem incredibly complex, and it is, but the science of it really boils down to two main principles that work together. Let's break those down.
Okay, it basically comes down to this. First, how many soldiers are you bringing to the fight? That's the number of muscle fibers your body decides to fire at once. And second, how strong is each individual soldier? That's the power that each one of those fibers can produce. We're going to tackle each of these one by one.
All right, first up, let's talk about recruitment. You can think of your brain as the general, and it needs a way to command its army of muscle fibers. The more force you need, the more troops it calls into action. But how does it decide who gets called up to the front lines first?
Well, the key to this whole command system is something called the motor unit. Imagine a single nerve. That's your alpha motor neuron, and the entire squad of muscle fibers it's in charge of. When that one neuron fires, every single fiber in its squad contracts. It's an all-or-nothing deal. This is literally how your brain sends precise orders to your muscles to get things done.
And our body is incredibly smart and efficient in how it does this. It follows a rule called the size principle. So for a really light task like just standing up, it only activates the small, endurance-focused, slow-twitch units. As you ramp up the intensity, say for a jog, it calls on more of those and starts bringing in some of the intermediate fibers. And for an all-out maximum effort sprint, it calls in everyone, the whole army, including the big, powerful, but very easily fatigued fast twitch units. It's this perfect, logical escalation of force.
And this quote just brilliantly illustrates why timing is absolutely everything. See, it's not just about how many fibers you recruit, but how well they all work together. If every fiber is contracting in perfect synchrony, just like a team of elite rowers pulling their oars at the exact same time, you get maximum force propelling that boat forward. If they're all firing out of sync, the effort is just sloppy and weak.
So that covers the number of fibers, the size of your army. But what about the soldiers themselves? This brings us to our second big principle. It turns out not all muscle fibers are created equal. You can basically think of them as coming in two main flavors. You've got your endurance athletes, and you've got your pure power athletes.
This chart really lays it all out perfectly. On one side, your slow-twitch fibers are the marathoners. They're highly resistant to fatigue, they're fueled by oxygen, and they're just packed with mitochondria, the little powerhouses of the cell. Then on the other side, you have the sprinters, the fast-twitch fibers. They contract 2 to 3 times faster, they have way more fibers per motor unit for that explosive power, but they burn out incredibly quickly. They are the absolute definition of live fast, die young.
If you need just one number to really understand the difference here, this is it. The peak power of a single fast-twitch fiber is a staggering 5 times greater than a slow-twitch fiber. 5 times. That's the difference between a steady jog and an explosive jump. So the type of fiber your brain recruits makes a massive difference in the force you can produce.
So are you just born a sprinter or a marathoner? Well, the answer is, kinda, yeah. Your genetic makeup largely decides your natural ratio of these fiber types. But, and this is a big but, training still matters a whole lot. You can't turn a slow-twitch fiber into a fast-twitch one, but with specific training, you can change how it behaves. You can make an endurance fiber act a little bit more like a power fiber, for example.
Okay, so we've got this amazing system for generating force, but we all know from experience, it doesn't last forever. Eventually, we hit that wall. So what exactly is happening when our muscles start to fatigue and fail us?
First, let's just be really clear on our terms. When scientists talk about fatigue, they mean a measurable reduction in force or power. This is not the same as total exhaustion, where you literally cannot move a muscle. No, this is that moment when you feel like you're pushing just as hard, but you're getting less and less output in return.
So the causes of fatigue are generally split into two big camps. You've got central fatigue, which starts in the nervous system, your brain and spinal cord, and then you have peripheral fatigue, which happens right there at the scene of the crime, inside the muscle fiber itself. And for high-intensity exercise, this is where most of the action is. So what's actually going on inside that muscle? Well, You can think of it like a really busy workshop that's getting messy. As you work hard, all these metabolic byproducts start to build up. Hydrogen ions make the whole environment more acidic, which basically gums up the machinery. And crucially, the waste products from burning energy, things like ADP and inorganic phosphate, they accumulate and directly interfere with the muscle's ability to contract forcefully. On top of all that, the whole system for signaling a contraction just gets slower and less reliable. It's really this internal chemical chaos that leads directly to that drop in power.
But while all that chemical chaos in the muscle is a huge part of the story, it's not the whole story. We can't forget about the general in charge, the brain, because it turns out even its commands can start to weaken over time.
And we see evidence for this all the time, right? Just think about how our coach yelling, "one more rep," can sometimes magically give you the strength to do it. That's a huge sign that your muscle wasn't at its absolute physical limit. Studies have also shown that during fatigue, the brain's actual electrical signal to the muscles can decrease. It's almost like the brain itself decides to pull back on the throttle, maybe as a way to protect you. Our perception of how hard we're working is a massive factor here.
Which leaves us with this final really fascinating question. When you feel like you just can't go on anymore, is it because of a genuine chemical breakdown happening in your muscles? Or is it a powerful signal from your brain telling you it's time to stop? The truth, as we've seen, is that it's a really complex dance between the two. And understanding that dance is the key to unlocking our true physical potential.